The house with no name. The village was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of silence that made people whisper when they spoke. The kind that made children afraid to play outside. The kind that made Anna's mother keep the curtains closed, even during the day. Anna had lived in this village for all her 14 years, but it no longer felt like home. The war had changed everything. Her father had left 2 years ago, taken by soldiers. Her older brother had joined the resistance last winter. Now it was just Anna and her mother in the small brick house at the edge of the forest. She knew she should stay inside, but the house felt too small. So one evening, when her mother fell asleep in her chair, Anna slipped out the back door. The air was cold, the smell of damp earth rising from the ground. She pulled her coat tighter around her body and walked toward the road. She had no real plan, just a feeling, something pulling her toward the trees. As she reached the path leading into the woods, she stopped. There was a house deep in the forest, one that no one spoke about. It had been empty for years, but lately, Anna had seen shadows moving behind the windows. No one lived there, or at least no one was supposed to. A shiver ran down her spine, but she kept walking. Her feet knew the way, even if her mind told her to turn back. When she reached the house, she hesitated. The door was slightly open. A broken lock dangled from the wood. Anna took a step closer. Inside, there was no light, only darkness. And then, a sound. Soft. Careful. Someone was inside. Anna held her breath. A whisper drifted from the shadows. "Who's there?" Her heart pounded. She should run. She should go home. But instead, she stepped forward. And everything changed. Anna's breath was shallow. The voice in the darkness had been soft, but not threatening. Still, her body told her to run. But she didn't. Instead, she stepped inside. The wooden floor creaked under her boots. The air smelled of damp wood and old fabric. A small lantern flickered in the corner of the room, casting long shadows. Then she saw him. A boy, maybe a few years older than her. He was thin, his clothes dirty and torn. His dark eyes watched her carefully. His hands were shaking. "Who are you?" Anna whispered. The boy hesitated, then said, "Jacob." His voice was rough, like he hadn't spoken in a long time. Anna could feel the weight of his fear. She knew what he was. A name wasn't needed to understand. He was Jewish, and he was hiding. Anna swallowed. Soldiers passed through the village, often now. They searched houses. They knocked on doors in the middle of the night. If they found Jacob, Anna stepped back, suddenly unsure. But then Jacob's lips parted. "Please," he whispered. One word. That was all. But it was enough. Anna nodded, her pulse still racing. She turned and checked the door. No one was outside. No movement. The trees swayed gently in the wind. She turned back to Jacob. "You can't stay here. They'll find you." "I have nowhere else," he said. Anna's stomach twisted. She should leave. Pretend she never saw him. Go home to her mother, sit by the fire and forget. But she knew she wouldn't. Instead, she whispered, "I'll bring food." Jacob's eyes widened just a little. Hope. Then Anna turned and slipped back into the night. She didn't know it yet, but she had just changed both their fates. Anna barely slept that night. Every sound outside, made her sit up in bed, heart pounding. The thought of Jacob, alone in that cold house, would not leave her mind. By morning, she had made a decision. She slipped bread and cheese into a cloth bag, careful not to wake her mother. Her mother would not understand. She would tell Anna to stay away from the boy. Helping him was dangerous. Anna knew that, but she also knew she couldn't ignore him. The walk to the abandoned house felt longer in the daylight. Every person she passed made her stomach tighten. Did they know? Could they see her fear? When she reached the house, she knocked lightly before stepping inside. Jacob was still there. He sat by the window, knees pulled to his chest, staring at nothing. When he saw her, he straightened. His face was pale, his hands trembling. Anna handed him the bag of food. He took it carefully, almost like he didn't believe it was real. Then, without a word, he tore into the bread. She watched him eat in silence. He ate too fast, like someone who had been hungry for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than before. "Thank you." Anna nodded. She had so many questions, but she wasn't sure if she should ask them. Where was his family? How long had he been hiding? Was anyone looking for him? Instead, she said, "I'll bring more tomorrow." Jacob looked at her like he wanted to say something more, but he only nodded. As Anna stepped outside, the winter air burned her lungs. She had done something dangerous, something she could not take back. She told herself she was only helping him survive. That was all. But deep down, she knew the truth. This was just the beginning. The days passed in quiet secrecy. Every morning before the village woke, Anna slipped food into her bag and made her way to the abandoned house. Jacob was always waiting, always watching the door as if expecting someone else, someone who meant harm. She learned more about him, though he did not speak much. His family had been taken. He didn't know where. He had escaped by running into the forest, hiding in ditches, moving at night. The house was the first shelter he had found in weeks. Anna didn't ask more. The answers sat between them like heavy stones. One evening, as she was about to leave, Jacob caught her wrist. "They are searching," he whispered. His fingers were cold, his eyes darker than usual. Anna felt her stomach tighten. "Who?" "The soldiers. I saw them in the village. They went to houses, asking." Anna swallowed. She had noticed the tension, too. People spoke in low voices, avoiding eye contact. The fear in the air was thick. "You should leave the house," she said. "It's not safe." Jacob shook his head. "Where would I go?" Anna didn't have an answer. She left quickly that evening, her heart pounding in her chest. As she neared her home, she heard boots against the frozen ground. 2 German soldiers stood by a house, speaking with a villager. She turned away, keeping her head down, moving fast. When she entered her house, her mother looked up sharply. "Where have you been?" Anna hesitated. She had never lied to her mother before. But tonight, she said, "Just walking." Her mother studied her face. Then she sighed. "Come inside. Close the door." Anna obeyed, but her hands were shaking. The danger was growing, and she didn't know if she could keep Jacob safe much longer. Anna barely slept that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound outside. Jacob was in danger, and if anyone found out what she was doing, so was she. By morning, she had made a decision. She couldn't let Jacob stay in that house any longer. The soldiers were searching. They would find him eventually. He needed a better place to hide. When she arrived at the house, Jacob was already waiting near the door. His eyes were dark with exhaustion. He hadn't slept either. "They are getting closer," he said quietly. "I saw them again. 2 soldiers near the church." Anna nodded. "You can't stay here." Jacob looked at her, something unreadable in his face. "Where else can I go?" Anna hesitated. She had an idea. A terrible one. A dangerous one. But it was the only way. "There is an old farm," she whispered. "About an hour from here. It belongs to my uncle, but he left long ago. No one goes there." Jacob was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. "When?" "Tonight." It was the only way. If they moved during the day, someone would see them. The village was small, and eyes were everywhere. Anna's hands felt cold as she planned everything in her head. She would bring extra food, a thick coat for Jacob, and a lantern. They would walk through the fields, avoiding the roads. It was dangerous, but leaving him here was worse. As she left the house, she could feel Jacob watching her, trusting her, depending on her. For the first time, the weight of it all settled on her shoulders. She had started something she could not undo, and she could only hope it wouldn't destroy them both. The night was colder than Anna expected. The sky stretched dark and endless above them as she and Jacob moved through the fields. She had wrapped her scarf tightly around her face, her breath warm against the wool. Jacob walked beside her, his steps quiet, his shoulders tense. They had waited until the village was completely silent. Anna had slipped out of the house without a sound, her heart pounding. If her mother woke up and found her gone, there would be questions. Dangerous ones. Now, as they walked, Anna could barely see Jacob's face in the dim moonlight. But she knew he was afraid. She was afraid too. They reached the forest at the edge of the village. The trees stood tall and silent, watching them. Anna pulled out the small lantern she had brought, shielding the light with her hands. "We must go quickly," she whispered. "The farm is not far." Jacob nodded. They stepped between the trees, moving carefully over the frozen ground. Every branch that snapped under their feet sounded like a gunshot in the silence. Anna tried not to think about what would happen if they were caught. After what felt like hours, the old farm came into view. The wooden building was dark, abandoned for years. But the roof still held, and the walls stood strong. It was better than the house in the village. It was hidden. Anna opened the door, her hands trembling. Dust filled the air. The smell of old wood and earth. She stepped inside, holding up the lantern. Jacob followed, closing the door behind them. "It's safe," Anna said softly. Jacob looked at her, his eyes unreadable. Then, for the first time, he smiled. Just a small, tired smile. Anna exhaled, feeling warmth return to her chest. They had made it. For now, at least Jacob was safe. But deep inside, she knew this was not the end. The war was still out there, and danger was never far behind. The wind howled around the old farm, rattling the wooden walls. Inside, Anna sat by the lantern's weak glow, watching Jacob as he carefully spread out the blankets on the cold floor. Neither of them had spoken much since arriving. The silence felt safer. Anna pulled her coat tighter around her. "We can stay here for a little while," she said finally. "But we need food, water, wood for the fire." Jacob nodded, his face half hidden in the shadows. "I can go at dawn," he whispered. "No," Anna said quickly. "It's too dangerous. People will notice you." She wasn't sure how long they had before someone from the village realized Jacob was missing. Or worse, before the soldiers started asking questions. Jacob looked at her, his eyes serious. "Then what do we do?" Anna thought for a moment. She had spent her whole life in the village. She knew the old paths through the fields, the way to the river where the water was still clean. She knew which houses had food left unguarded in their cellars. "I'll go," she decided. Jacob hesitated. "It's not safe for you either." She met his gaze. "I know." The truth was, nothing was safe anymore. Not the village, not the farm, not even the dark forest. But they had no choice. Jacob sighed and sat down beside her. "Then we wait for morning." The night passed slowly. Anna listened to the wind, to the creaks in the old wood, to Jacob's quiet breathing. Sleep came in short, uneasy moments. By the time the first light touched the sky, she was already on her feet. She wrapped her scarf around her face, pulled on her gloves, and slipped outside into the freezing morning air. The village was not far, but every step she took felt like walking across thin ice. Anna kept her head down as she moved toward the river, her heart pounding. The world was quiet, but she knew someone was always watching. Anna moved carefully along the edge of the frozen fields, keeping close to the trees. The air was sharp with the cold, and every breath she took felt like a small knife in her lungs. She reached the river, its surface thinly iced over. Kneeling down, she broke the ice with a rock and filled the small bottle she had carried from a farm. The water was freezing, but they had no choice. Then she turned toward the village. Smoke rose from chimneys. People were already outside, bundled in heavy coats, moving through the snow-covered streets. Anna kept to the shadows, her heart pounding. She knew exactly where to go. The old storage house near the baker's shop. The war had made everyone careful, but there were still places where food was left unguarded for a few moments. Anna slipped through the back door, her hands shaking. She grabbed a small sack of potatoes, a half loaf of bread, and some dried meat. It wasn't much, but it would keep them alive. She turned to leave, then stopped. A noise. Footsteps outside. Anna froze. Through the small gap in the wooden wall, she saw them, 2 soldiers standing near the entrance, talking in low voices. She held her breath. If they came inside, there was nowhere to hide. The voices grew louder, then faded as the men walked away. Anna didn't wait. She clutched the food to her chest and slipped out the back, moving quickly toward the forest. Every step felt heavy, every sound too loud. But she didn't stop until she saw the farm in the distance. Jacob was waiting at the door, his face pale with worry. When he saw her, his shoulders relaxed. "You made it," he whispered. Anna handed him the sack. "We'll survive a little longer," she said. Jacob smiled, a small, tired smile. Outside, the wind howled and the war continued. But inside, for now, they had food. They had shelter, and they had each other.